This just in, Rob Manfred and the Major League Baseball announced new rules coming to the game.
That's right. Some will take effect this year. Some will be taking effect next year.
All that and more on episode number
16
of Yankee Chatter. So step into the chatter box with Greg Andriano at GregAndriano05 on Twitter.
And I'm Brad McCormick, Brad or Chatter 1 on Twitter. And I think no matter what our opinions are, Greg, old men everywhere are outraged over every one of these rules.
Yep. So get off my lawn.
That's right.
But no, the other day, Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball have announced a handful of new rules that will take effect in 2019, this year, and next year in 2020, which is interesting because they all take place before the next CBA agreement goes into effect.
Surprisingly.
So for 2019, we'll go through the list real quickly, and then we'll talk about which ones we like and don't like, and so on. After that, so between innings has now been reduced to 2 minutes, and that's for locally broadcast game and nationally broadcast game. Currently, it's 2 minutes and 5 seconds, and 2 minutes and 25 seconds for local and nationally televised games, respectively. Next rule is maximum number of mound visits has been decreased from 6 to 5, and there will now be a single trade deadline on July 31st. The August 31st waiver deadline will no longer exist, so it's all happening in one day. Players may be placed on and claimed on waivers after July 31st, but no actual trades will be allowed. Also, there will be a joint committee that will be assembled to study other potential changes in the game, starting such as like changing the mound height, mound distance, stuff like that. We've already talked about that stuff. Now, there's a new change in the All-Star Game voting. Voting will be conducted in 2 rounds. I think I read this correctly. The first round, each team will nominate 1 player for each eligible position, and that will be voted on by fans. Then the second round will take the top 3 for each position, and the fans will be given like a week or a week and a half to vote on it. And then the winner of that wins the starting position. All-Star Game, there will be more details announced in April as the All-Star Game gets a little bit closer. Bonuses will be given to the top 3 vote getters per each position. That number hasn't been announced yet. And the team that wins the All-Star Game, the prize money, that number will be increased as well. For extra innings, they will do a runner on second to start the inning in All-Star Game. And the home run derby winner will now win $2.5 million, which has not persuaded Aaron Judge to do the home run derby again. He does not want to risk it. He wants to stay healthy because apparently the home run derby is one of the main contributors as to why he was injured in 2017.
Right.
So with that said, Brad, 2019, what rules are you excited about? What rules have you kind of why are they doing that? And what rules don't you care about at all?
Well, honestly, most of these rules I don't care about this year. I don't care about the 5 seconds in between innings. I mean, it just means I got to get to the bathroom and back faster.
Yeah. I know you're getting older, Brad.
It sucked getting older. The number of mound visits, I know last year the max was 6. I don't think any team really got into many problems with that. So decreasing it to 5, I can't see why that'd be an issue either. As far as the trade deadline, that's the one that I think I like because there's always confusion as to why some guys get traded by the deadline, other people do the waiver deadline by August, and then there's all that craziness last year about the Josh Donaldson. Was he hurt? Was he not hurt? But somehow Cleveland still wound up with him. The joint committee, I don't really care about. The All-Star voting I'm not really concerned about either. I don't care how the guys get there as long as the right guys get there. And then the home run derby thing, like you said, I actually like them addressing it because the game needs more people to be paying attention to the skills aspect of the All-Star game. Mm-hmm. But I like Judge's opinion the best when he said they want us to really do the home run derby, just give us more time off. Give us a week off for the All-Star game because I'm not going to go to the All-Star break, do a home run derby, play a game the next day, and then fly out across the country and play a game the very next day. It's just there's no break for them. Mm-hmm. So they really want guys to participate. You got to give them extra rest. Mm-hmm. That's about it. As far as rules for this year, it's nothing too concerning to me, but I do like the trade deadline rule.
Right. I'm with you. I really like the trade deadline thing. that also puts a lot of teams on the clock to make a move on the trade deadline. The last couple of trade deadlines have been a dud as far as big moves. Same with the winter meetings. So maybe this will encourage teams to make some big splashes to make the move that maybe will set them over the top. I actually think that it's kind of lame that they're taking away one mound visit.
It is. It's just so.
Just
ridiculous.
Six mound visits are plenty. That gives you one per inning for the first 6 innings, and you don't even use them all. But it's nice to have them in your back pocket. Now they got to think of a strategy to deal with 5 instead of 6. So I think it's pointless. The other thing I really like is the new All-Star voting method. I really like it.
It's good. I just could care less.
I think it's great that they're narrowing it down, and they're giving fans incentive to vote multiple times for the top 3 and then for the final winner. Something needs to always be done with All-Star voting. I never liked the complete fan vote up until the deadline and then doing the final vote. I like this. I think fans are given too much responsibility for voting for All-Star game if you're going to make it meaningful, but now that it's not meaningful anymore, I think this is perfect.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, and I agree with Judge. They need more time off if they're going to try and get guys, big name players, to participate in the home run derby. You need to give their bodies a break. They're playing nonstop the first half of the season. They don't get a break now with the All-Star game. And if they're going to do the home run derby, that's one less day they have off. And then they go back into playing the second half of the season, especially contenders like the Yankees, Red Sox, Indians, and so forth. So make the All-Star break 5 or 6 days instead of 2 or 3, or 3 days or whatever it is. Because even the guys that don't make the All-Star game, they get days off. They get to go on trips. The guys that make it, it's almost like you're punishing them for making the team. So
it's an honor, but they really don't want that honor.
No, they want the break. They need the breather. The baseball season's long and hard enough. Give the guys a breather. So that's
an already long season that goes too long. We're talking about more rest, actually.
Yeah, but if you want more baseball and you want the season to be longer, then you have to put more days of rest in there.
Right.
Players are not.
Let's go to the bigger ones, 2020.
Yeah. So, okay, here we go. These are the big ones that have kind of gotten people's attention more than the ones that I already read. So from opening day until August 31st in 2020 and so on, the maximum roster size will increase from 25 to 26. This actually would come in handy for teams like the Yankees this year when they end up having to send down a player like Greg Bird or Luke Voigt to start the season. Now they'll actually be able to carry maybe an extra first baseman or an extra catcher or something like that. And then when they do double headers, you can have a 27th player instead of the 26th player. The September roster expansion is no longer there. They will not have September call-ups anymore.
Thank God.
At least not to the extent of you can have 40 guys in the dugout. It will actually expand to 28 players, so teams can actually carry 2 extra players, which I think is great because now you're forcing pitchers to pitch more in September, and you're not having throwaway games and so forth. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm getting carried away. But they'll also put a cap on the number of pitchers teams are allowed to carry. That could be like teams can't carry more than 14 pitchers in a season or 15 or whatever. Teams must, at the beginning of the season, designate a position player as a position player or a pitcher. And they must, in order to do both, pitch 20 innings or play 20 games at a position or designate a hitter.
Kind of confusing, but
it is, but I don't think it's necessary, but we'll get there. And then the big one, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one. They can be designated as two-way players. That's what it was. Two-way players, as long as they pitch 20 innings and play 20 innings in the field.
Right.
But for the players, like for a shortstop, you have to be designated as a shortstop, and that's what you will be the whole season. So I think that's eliminating position players pitching.
I don't know.
I'm curious to see what else comes out on that. So the big one that has everyone up in arms is the minimum of 3 batters faced for any pitcher in any game. This we talked about that one episode where we talked about the potential rule changes. This is actually going into effect in 2020. They haven't really announced all the details about it. And Tony Clark has actually openly admitted that they did not agree with this. This is straight coming from the commissioner. So, yeah.
Yeah, basically the commissioner's office said we're doing this with or without the cooperation of the players union, and that's going to be a problem coming up to the next CBA.
Absolutely, Brad. And I get that they're trying to speed up games because that's really the whole point of most of these rules is to speed up the game. That's why they're shortening the time in between innings. That's why they're doing this. I think that there is a much better way to handle this. I think maybe getting rid of the 3 batters. And we talked about this before. There are other ways you can speed up the game other than forcing a pitcher to face 3 batters, even though he gives up 3 straight home runs, or even though he gets the lefty comes in and gets the lefty out. You know, it's adding a whole new strategy to the game that I don't think the players and the managers want.
Well, okay, so I'm on kind of both sides of this rule. Let me say first of all, I'm against it. I think they totally missed on this rule. However, I can see both sides of it. So what I saw when this rule came out was such overreaction on Twitter by a lot of media analysts or ex-GMs of the game. It's like they go nuts. Oh, they're just putting the pitchers at risk. It's putting them at harm. It's just going to make it more longer baseball if the pitcher's getting beat up. And I'm like, it's such overreaction. First of all, you're not putting a pitcher at risk because he has to pitch 3 batters. Okay. Second of all, if a pitcher is getting beat up, like it's 3 hitters, all right? He's not going, and it's not saying you have to start the inning and finish that half inning. It's just 3 batters. Can a pitcher really be getting rolled up and for 3 hitters? Like, I don't know. I don't think it's something that you go crazy about.
3 hitters is an inning. If you do your job and you get all 3 of them out, that's an inning.
Right. So let's say the pitcher, all 3 guys get hits. Okay. Now, it sucks for that team whose pitcher's out there, but for the other team, if you're a fan of the other team watching on TV or in the stands, you're loving it because you have a rally going on right now. So that side of that team is going to love it. So it kind of cancels each other out. So I don't think the overreaction needs to be this great. All right, but flip it on the other side now. I disagree. I think there's other ways they could have gone about shortening up the whole boring process of bringing in relief pitchers, okay? Let's just do this. Pitchers can pitch against 1 batter if they want to. But if you're going to change a pitcher, you stand at the top step of the dugout if you're the manager. You signal to the umpire, righty or lefty. A golf cart brings that pitcher in from the bullpen to the field. All right? It's not crazy. You could drive a golf cart on the outfield grass. You drop him off. He doesn't need more warm-up pitches because all these ballparks are supposed to have mounds that replicate on-field mound in the bullpen already. You don't need to go through a whole other session of warm-up pitches. So the golf cart brings him in, game on, next hitter up. Is that such a bad thing?
No, and I agree with you. I would just make one little tweak to that, Brad. I would say the golf cart brings the pitcher to the infield dirt because you don't want the cart.
Well, yeah, obviously.
And then you give the pitcher 30 seconds to dig his hole and get the mound ready to how he.
Well, yeah, the catcher has to give him the ball. They go over a quick little game plan of what's going on in the game, what they need to do this next hitter, then they pitch.
Mm-hmm. No warm-up pitches needed. He warmed up already in the bullpen. But yeah, I say give him 30 seconds. You put it on the clock. From the second he gets out of the golf cart, the second he gets to the mound, he gets that amount of time to make his adjustments to the mound to make sure he's comfortable, so he's not landing in a hole that he didn't, that he's not ready for, because you don't want him to turn an ankle. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You can you don't even need a commercial break doing this. You really don't. You really don't. The commentators these days love to talk, so give them an extra 30 seconds to talk. Who cares? That
is how you avoid this whole mess. You don't need a minimum or a maximum. I think if they do want to do minimum maximums, then you just do how many pitchers you can use in a total game, rather than how many individual hitters each pitcher. Just put a max on how many pitchers you can use.
Yeah. So teams can't use more than 5 pitchers.
And how they gonna enforce this? If a pitcher pitches to one hitter and then they want to take the pitcher out, all you have to do is, something feels a little tight. Something's like tweaked.
And you can't.
How are you gonna enforce that?
You can't tell someone how to feel. You can't say, "Oh, he's faking it."
It's like the NFL when guys just go down, just slow the game down.
Yeah,
you can't enforce it.
No, I guarantee that's going to be the big thing, and then they're going to have to come up with some alternative. But I'm with you, Brad. I think fixing how the pitching change is made, the process of how a pitching change is made, change that, and put a max number of pitchers on a game. That way, and the only way you get more than 5 pitchers, like say if you're on your 5th pitcher and it's the 7th inning or the 8th inning, and your guy clearly has an injury, it has to be absolutely 100% obvious that the guy has an injury.
And then that pitcher has to miss his next start.
Yes. Or either next start, or like if it's a relief pitcher, he can't pitch for 5 days.
Yeah, that's just too. But yeah, either way, I think a maximum of pitchers you have for a game would also encourage starters going longer, which is what the MLB's in actuality trying to get done here.
Right, and that goes back to our last episode when we were talking about Loizaga and pitching to contact. That way, you get pitchers to focus more on pitching to contact, lowering their pitch counts, not worrying about the strikeout, even though strikeouts are fun to watch. Not lowering. I mean, pitching to contact, getting through innings quicker, and that also will speed up the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Pitch to contact, but and that'll never happen. But that's what you want.
No, but it won't, because guys want strikeouts. It's fans want strikeouts. So yeah, I think there's lots of little things that could influence how the game is played and actually inherently speed up the game on its own. Not trying to put time limits on things and batter minimums or maximums or pitch whatever. Who cares? Right?
What people need to realize too is baseball is kind of like hockey. It's like golf. You either like the sport or you don't. No one's gonna not watch the game because there are too many pitching changes. You either watch it, I think that's what baseball needs to start realizing.
I know people that only watch baseball only when the playoffs come around. You're not going to change that. If you change the rules and they're going to be watching the playoff games, you're like, oh, okay, so now that speeds up the game just a little, like 5 minutes. I'm going to watch more games this year. That's not going to change things. You're not going to gain viewers that way. You're not.
No, you're really not. Next thing you know, the baseball is going to be saying, all right, we need more time of action. So 3 foul balls, you're out. You only get 2 strikes once you get to a certain inning. It's going to be stupid little rules that are just going to keep coming. They go down this path.
Major League Baseball is going to turn into my rec softball league where you get 1 courtesy foul and you're out. And
we don't want that.
No, you don't want that.
Because honestly, you want to know what really slows the game down? It's foul balls, to be honest with you.
It is. And I'm surprised they haven't honed in on that. I'm surprised they haven't. You know how when you were young and we played kickball?
Right, four foul balls.
4 foul balls were out.
Yeah. I mean, that's gonna happen. By the time our kids are our age, that's gonna be a rule. And it's sad.
It's gonna be sad. And then you're gonna have an American Alliance baseball league forming, and you're gonna have like what they're doing with football now, and it's a shame. It's a shame because baseball is an art form on its own. It doesn't need to be changed drastically. You make little changes here and there, and it doesn't take away from the game. But you can't crack down on certain things. You're going to isolate the fans you already have.
That's what they're doing. They're not getting any more fans. They're just isolating the ones they have.
Mm-hmm. Which is a shame.
Other rules to just quickly go through. I like the September call-up changes because, number one, it's just not fair for teams that are out of it to bring up 10 more pitchers that the other teams haven't seen yet, and then teams that are in contention have to deal with these relief pitchers that come in throwing 100 miles an hour that they know nothing about. Mm-hmm. All right, that's just not fair. You don't need all that. If you want to expand them to 40, do that. They can all travel with you, but then just that day of the game, you have to designate which 26 make the roster, which is kind of like what they're going to do. Yeah,
like hockey,
like
right?
hockey.
They have
healthy scratches.
Yeah,
exactly. They just do that, which they're kind of doing when they say that you can designate players and all that, position players, pitchers, all that. It's very confusing how they did it, but I see what they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. But I do like the fact that you can't just bring up basically a whole second team to sit in your dugout every game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it gets crowded, and you start losing fans in September because the diehard fan is going to know the prospects. Obviously, you and I are going to look and we're going to say, "Oh, they brought up Florial. This is exciting."
Mm-hmm.
But then you get the everyday fan or the random fan. They're going to tune in there and be like, "Well, this isn't Mike Trout. This isn't Aaron Judge. Why aren't they playing? I'm not going to watch." That's a possibility.
Not that Trotter Judge will be sitting because of rookies.
But I mean, I'm just saying that so people can say, well, someone comes in. Well, I mean, think about it though. Players like that, especially if they have a playoff race locked up. Like say the Yankees are 20 games ahead going into September 15th. Judge is going to get a couple extra days off. Sanchez, Stanton, all these guys are going to get a couple extra days off. So, there's no rush. There's no reason for them to play, get hurt, and then they miss the playoffs. Happen, yeah. So there's that possibility. But my birthday's in September. I like to watch baseball in September more than NFL preseason. So, I'm excited for that. I want to see my guys play. I want to see the everyday player in the lineup as much as possible.
Yeah. And one other thing I wanted to talk about real quick, since we kind of went through the rules, is the reason they're doing this is they want baseball to be more appealing to the average fan. And I think the way to do that is something that's never ever going to happen. All right. The NFL is popular as it is because there's 16 games. There's not a lot of leeway for losses or one injury could make or break the season because the season's only 16 games. Baseball is 162 games. It's a long season. So there's certain games that the manager will throw out a few bench players and rest some of his stars, and it's kind of almost like a throwaway game. They don't care because it's such a long season. That hurts. The only way baseball could get massively more popular without affecting the rules of the game is if you shorten the season. And that's not going to happen because the owners would lose money. But if baseball could make it so that their World Series is in August or the beginning of September when no other sports are going on. All right, it's preseason in hockey, it's preseason in football, and basketball's not going on yet. Or it might be preseason there too, whatever. Anyways, the only regular season going on then is baseball. You could control the entire sports fan base if you had the World Series in end of August, early September. But that's just not going to happen. The only way you'd have to do that is cut games down, which owners aren't going to want to, or you'd have to have double headers, which I love. I love double headers. I think they should go back to have more double headers, but you just have to have it like a day night where people have to exit the stadium and then come back in with a separate ticket. Mm-hmm. So I think that is a doable option. I just don't think it's ever going to happen.
I'm with you there, Brad, and that reminds me of the article that I wrote last year about changing the playoff system and shortening the season. You play double headers, you shorten the season, you get it done by September, and then you got to make the playoffs more interesting. I think on top of the fact of bringing the playoffs earlier before all the other main sports start is you make it more interesting. I think if you have a bracket style playoff system where almost everybody makes the playoffs or more teams make the playoffs, then you get more fan bases interested when the playoffs do come around. Because if the same 6 teams or 8 teams are making the playoffs every year, like this year will probably be the Yankees, Red Sox, Indians, Astros out of the American League. And then you have the wild card. It's going to be some random team that gets eliminated in the wild card round. I mean, am I wrong?
It'd be Twins, Rays, or A's.
Right.
Basically.
And the odds of them winning the wild card game not really in their favor because the other 5 teams are really good. So
basically, whoever makes the wild card game is going to have to play the Yankees or Red Sox.
Right.
We already know that going in.
Yeah. So then you get the other fan bases that don't make the playoffs regularly. They're checked out by September. They're ready for football and hockey and basketball season. If you get more of those teams that are on the cusp of the wild card involved in the playoffs and have some sort of system where a Cinderella team can make a late run, then you might get more fan bases into it. College World Series is exciting because all these different schools get involved. Am I right?
It's true. And a lot more teams get involved.
Yeah.
It's fun watching those games.
Yeah, and all these fan bases get involved. If you get more Major League Baseball teams involved, you're not even going to make more money. Owners aren't going to make more money. You're going to get more people interested in it.
But once again, the only way that happens is they shorten the season.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm completely for. I love doubleheaders, especially during the week, because I can put the game and listen to it while I'm at the office. I
love doubleheaders. It's just I think it's a part of the game that has fallen off, and it's one of the best parts of the game because it's the only sport that you can play 2 games in one day.
Yeah, who doesn't love a full day of baseball?
Not me. I love it. So anyway, overall reactions, Greg. I think I like that baseball is trying to address the issues they have. I just think they're doing it the wrong way. I think it has to be a room full of guys our age or younger, maybe even younger than us. I think guys under the age of 30 to be making these changes. And unfortunately, in baseball, you have a bunch of guys in their 50s and 60s making these rule changes. That's the problem I'm having with this.
Yep, you got to kind of. We're millennials, believe it or not. We are that generation. But you have to. But we are going to be the adult. We are currently the adult generation. So you have to cater to your larger demographic, and then you're going to have to cater to the next generation, which are, I don't know what the next generation is called, but your son's generation.
Yeah.
You know, you have to keep them interested in the game. Baseball and all sports have to evolve in order to remain appealing to their fan bases, and that's just not going to happen. The way their antiquated way of thinking isn't going to cut it. So you're right, Brad. They need to do it. They're doing something about it, but they're not doing it in the right way.
Right. So at least they're trying to do something. I'm really interested to see what happens by next time the CBA comes up, though, because I think both sides are going to be on opposite ends of this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I would tend to lean towards the player side of it because they realize that these rules that they're making don't make sense, but they also realize we need to do something. Like maybe let the people let the players show a little emotion out there. Maybe
Get rid of these unwritten rules. Yeah.
Let each player have a signature celebration after they don't run. Why not?
Mm-hmm. Get rid of these unwritten rules. They're that's not the game anymore. Players think differently, and I'm with you. You got to side with the players because they're the ones playing it. They're the ones you pay to see. They're the ones that are out there sacrificing their bodies every single day to earn a living to play this game of entertainment. So why have a bunch of old guys that haven't played the game in 30 years make the decision?
Right. That are all traditionalists. Listen, I love tradition. Most of my sports teams that I like are traditional teams, like the Yankees. But there comes a point where I like to see these guys have fun out there, which is going to in turn make fans have more fun.
Mm-hmm. Right. Absolutely.
So that is the direction these rules need to start going.
And you can still have tradition. You can still have those annual traditions or the history like the Yankees have, and still change for the better.
Right. So that's where we're going with that. We would actually love some feedback on this kind of stuff. So I would love if we had some people listen and comment on what changes you would make, which ones you do like, which you don't like. That's going to really get the show going, get the wheels turning. So please, if you are listening to this, give us your feedback. Whether hit us up on either Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever social media you can get to. Obviously, you can't respond to us on iTunes, but you can then get to us at Brad Chatter 1 on Twitter and
Greg Andriano 05 on Twitter.
Yeah, just tag us and let us know what you think. Any last words, Greg?
I'm gonna just follow up with what Brad said. I know it's not the easiest thing to comment or to sit through one of these episodes. They when they get long, but we really, really, really want some feedback on this. This is very important for the game of baseball. And I'm just curious to see what other Yankee fans and baseball fans think, just to see what rules that we talked about. Do you agree with them? Do you not agree with them? Just some feedback and some conversation going. It's a good dialogue to have because these could be ideas that MLB could be listening to and could in fact make change to the game that we all love.
And the season hasn't even started yet. That's coming up soon. We have a couple weeks left to spring training. We'll get into opening day rosters and predictions and all that soon. But until then, I'm Brad McCormick.
And I'm Mr. Greg Andriano.
And that's Mr. Greg Andriano. And go Yankees, and we'll see you next time.